At last, Aaron Wan-Bissaka is finally a West Ham United player. The medical's been complete, his autograph is on the contract, and we're just awaiting the announcement from the club. This is good news. Now, if you're one of those fans that say, I don't believe it, until he's on the official website holding up the shirt, I don't believe it. I understand. I understand why that's your perspective with every transfer, but this one especially, and I think there's going to be a few other fans with that attitude towards this deal as well. However, if you're like myself and you're inclined to believe it when all the big hitters say the deal's done, then the spider is finally a hammer. Welcome to West Ham United, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. We've been waiting a long time for you, but I'm really pleased. I'm looking forward to discussing it. I've been looking forward to discussing it for about a week actually, but this one has just dragged on. But Wan-Bissaka is finally a West Ham United player for £15 million. If you're new around here, please do subscribe. I've got a bit of an ambitious target. I'm trying to hit 40,000 subscribers before we take on Aston Villa on Saturday evening. Now, nothing happens, nothing changes. It's just a nice milestone to hit. So if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. It's completely free and takes about 3 seconds to do so. But also drop a like on the video as well by clicking the thumbs up. Now, I'm pleased about this deal for 2 reasons. The small reason is I'm just glad it's over. It feels like, actually, when we say it feels like it's dragged on for ages, it has dragged on for ages. Man United knew at the end of the season, 3 months ago, they were going to have to sell Wan-Bissaka. West Ham knew a month and a half ago Ben Johnson was leaving to join Ipswich Town. So they needed to sell Wan-Bissaka. We need to sign the right back. We wanted Wan-Bissaka. It felt like a transfer that didn't need to be this difficult or take this long. However, I solely blame Man U for this one dragging on and on and on. They even threw a spanner in the works yesterday. He was meant to have his medical at 4 o'clock and couldn't travel to London to have it because Man U still hadn't agreed the payout terms with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. It's just been frustrating from West Ham's perspective. However, we've been very, very patient on this one and we finally got our man. Over the summer, we've seen various different types of negotiating and strategy from Tim Steidten in regards to transfers. We've been ruthless with some, we've played chicken with some, we've called the bluff of some. But with this one, we've had to be very, very patient, and the most patient we've had to be with any other transfer. There's been instances this summer where we've just called it quits quite quickly in some regards. Fabrizio Bruno's personal demands were too high. Right, done. We're moving on to someone else. Wesley, no thank you. We're moving on. John Duran, 3 bids went in with Aston Villa. We weren't even that far away from their asking price, but we said, no, scrap that. We're going on to Fulkrug. We've been quite quick to call time on transfers. We've seen the aggressive format with Todibo getting rid of Juventus, just outbidding Juventus and getting Todibo in. But with this one, with Wan-Bissaka, we've seen a different one, which is just patience, because we've needed a lot of patience to get this transfer done with Man U, but also Wan-Bissaka. He was reportedly reluctant to join West Ham. Well, it's not that he was reluctant to join West Ham, just that he preferred to join Inter Milan. So we've had to be patient to get this deal done. We've got it done. Well done, Tim Steidten. And I think it's just a really good signing for West Ham. I do. I don't think it's the perfect right back for Lopetegui's football. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 concerns over it. However, I do feel the positives of this transfer and this player far outweigh the negatives as far as I'm concerned. And I think it's a good deal. Now, one of the big reasons I think it's a good deal is that transfer fee of 15 million. And he's only 15 million because of his contract situation at Old Trafford. Had he had another 2 or 3 years on his contract, Man U would have wanted double money. They wouldn't have got it, but that would have been their asking price. They would have wanted much, much more because he's a good age, he's homegrown, and he's a real solid, at worst in my opinion, a solid Premier League right back. They go for big money when they're homegrown as well, so I think 15 million is only because of his contract situation. I feel like we've got a good deal here. I think Man U have got a good deal considering he only had 12 months to go. I think everybody's a bit of a winner. And I think we're a good club for Wan-Bissaka. I really do. We're not, one of the Champions League clubs of that. However, I think we've shown we're really ambitious this summer's transfer window. We pay big wages for a club that's not one of the big 6. We do pay big wages. We do pay big fees got a huge stadium that we fill every single week, that we have to pay a fortune to get into, but we are a big club. We've got a chance of European football next season. We might get it, we might not, but we're a good club for Wan-Bissaka to join, and I do think we are the right level. Is Wan-Bissaka good enough for a Man United, a Man City, a Liverpool, an Arsenal? No, he's not. So what's the next tier down? Well, that is where you find the likes of Newcastle and West Ham. And I think that's his level. This is a good transfer for all involved as far as I'm concerned. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the player. But before I do, I just want to point in direction of the sponsors of this video, Manscaped. Why Manscaped? Well, Wan-Bissaka's nickname is the Spider because of his tackling, because of his sort of long legs, his ability to do those slide tackles. So Man United fans nicknamed him the Spider. It's a good nickname. I like it. However, you don't want a spider, do you, gentlemen? You don't want your manhood looking like a spider. And the best way to stop that is by heading over to Manscaped and grabbing the Lawn Mower 5. This thing is waterproof and comes with a torch so you can do your business when you're in the shower with its ceramic blades in order to reduce nicking and ingrowing hairs. Now, we're going to treat you on Hammers Chat. We're going to give you 20% off. The code is Hammers Chat Pubes. That's actually the code. It was Hammers Chat. Then it got pinched, and then it was Hammers Chat 20, and it got pinched. So Manscaped said, what do you want your new code to be? And I thought, well, it needs to be something memorable. Hammers Chat Pubes. And they said, yeah, you can have that if you want. So Hammers Chat Pubes is the code. So if you type in at checkout, you get 20% off everything, plus free shipping worldwide. However, they don't just do tools. They've also got lotions on there. And there's one called the Crop Preserver. It's basically a deodorant for your testicles. Now, it is roasting outside. I mean, I'm sweating recording this video. It is hot in the UK right now. You need some Crop Preserver. It stops itchiness, it stops chafing down there, but also it keeps your testicles nice and fresh. So when you're on there, make sure you grab some Crop Preserver as well. I highly recommend it today. I am recommending Crop Preserver today. It helps. Anyway, get rid of your spider by looking after your tackle. Wan-Bissaka is one of the best in the league when it comes to tackling. Make sure you've got one of the best tackles around by looking after it with all the tools from Manscaped. Links in the description below. Just head over to Manscaped and use the code HammersChatPubes. 20% off everything, free shipping worldwide. Anyway, talking about big discounts, West Ham got one as well with Wan-Bissaka. Positives and negatives regarding him. But let's start with the negatives, shall we? And we'll finish on a high. But because overall I'm happy with this signing. And I keep reiterating that because I know someone's going to just moan that I'm moaning about Wan-Bissaka. I'm not moaning about Wan-Bissaka. It's an honest opinion regarding a player who I've seen play a large amount of time for Man United and also a smaller amount of time for Crystal Palace. We know what his weaknesses are. So the final third, his crossing isn't the best. Now, one thing I feel like this is fair to say about Wan-Bissaka's crosses is they're a bit lofted. They can be a bit soft, a little dink. They're not really hit with pace. They're not really hit with swerve or anything like that. It's more chipping it. I don't know. Lofting it was the right descriptive word to use there. He's a bit of a lofter when it comes to crosses. Now, this can sometimes be a bad thing. Easy to defend, easy for the keeper to come and get. However, when you've got Füllkrug in the box, I don't think that matters too much. Füllkrug's a little bit like an Andy Carroll-esque striker when you're putting the crosses in the box. Andy Carroll years ago used to scream at our players if they would try and whip one in. He'd say, no, stop that. Don't do that. Just loft it in. Make it 50-50. Make it me versus that defender 50-50 and I will beat him. And Füllkrug's got a bit like that about him as well. So actually, he can make an average cross look good. You don't need good crosses to get the best out of Füllkrug in the air. And I think that not eliminates Wan-Bissaka's weakness, but I think it lessens it to some extent. His strengths, defensively, one-on-one, he's possibly the best fullback in the league. Not many opponents get the better of him over 90 minutes. Now, he's not faultless, he's not unbeatable, but he's strong on the tackle. He reads the game very well from a defensive standpoint. He's relatively quick. He's certainly not, I wouldn't say he's rapid, but he's quick enough to compete with most wingers in the league on a 1-on-1 duel. And they won't fancy it too much. I would imagine that if a winger comes up against Wan-Bissaka, it must impact them mentally, knowing they're up against one of the better defenders in the league on a 1-on-1 battle. We've got a fantastic defensive fullback at West Ham next season. Now, one thing I feel I've noticed in friendlies over pre-season, especially in the last 2 or 3 against Wolves, Crystal Palace and then Celta Vigo, was I felt there was a lot of space opening up on the pitch where we could be counter-attacked against. And I think Celta Vigo in the first half especially, they were really finding 10, 20 yards where they were able to just run at our fullbacks going forward, because Bowen was high at the pitch, Kudus was high at the pitch, and we want to see that. We want to see our attacking players get forward. It does leave you exposed to the counter-attack, and if that's going to be the case, you want to have as many good defensive players as you possibly can, and I think Wan-Bissaka strengthens that to some extent. I think he will allow Jarrod Bowen to be more attacking, whereas previously perhaps we've played with Bowen and whoever's on the left hand side, whether it be Paqueta, Finals, Benrahma. They're not defensive, but they're not too far away from the fullbacks, etc. I think I'm hoping Wan-Bissaka will just, even more so, just take the shackles off Jarrod Bowen and allow him to get that 5-10 yards further up the pitch. And I'm looking forward to it, because our defence is showing in pre-season they're not scared to go long. We'll pass around at the back, but when there's a 40-yard ball on, they will take it. And I'm just hoping that a stronger defensive player in Wan-Bissaka will just encourage Jarrod Bowen to get forward even further. Now, there is the admin side of this deal with him being homegrown. He's hitting what you hope to be his prime years. And sometimes when we all sign players, you have to accept that the sell-on value possibly won't be there. And I think that Wan-Bissaka is maybe one of those players, a long-term contract, 5-year deal. It's 15 million. I don't mind almost wiping that 15 million off with Wan-Bissaka, because we've got him in his late 20s, into his early 30s. And it's a long-term homegrown player. And this is, I know it's boring, but we need a few of those in the squad. We used to have some with the likes of Mark Noble, and you'd assume Ben Johnson would have went on to become one. We've had some with the likes of Aaron Creswell and Michail Antonio. Homegrown. You don't have to worry about it. They're just there. But we're getting to the point now where the squad needs, it's being rebuilt, but the squad needs rebuilt from a homegrown standpoint as well, where we've got the least amount of players you can have in order to have a maximum squad. But I think it's very fair to say that next summer we expect Creswell, Antonio and Ings to all depart. The following summer, Foderingham will depart. And there's, I think, a question mark, and I think that's fair to say, over James Ward-Prowse. So pretty much majority of our homegrown players don't have a long-term future at West Ham. The only two, unless I'm missing someone, is Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Max Kilman. That's it. That's the only ones we've got present. And Jarrod Bowen, I knew there'd be one I was missing, and Jarrod Bowen. So we've only got 3 real long-term homegrown players at this club. So I think it's important that we get another couple in, whether it be this window or next window, so you don't have to worry about that too much, because it restricts you in the window. When you're going after a player in a certain position and you need it to be homegrown, it's very, very restrictive. Now, hopefully, we'll have a conveyor belt where George Earthy, Freddie Potts, Lewis Orford can all step up and go on and become those. But until that happens, you've got to be quite clever in the transfer market. And I think that's what I would describe this signing is. I think it's solid, but I think it's quite a clever signing from us. He should fit into the way Lopetegui plays, and I know we want to get our fullbacks high and wide down that pitch. I think Wan-Bissaka can play that. I do. I think he's a strong dribbler. I think he's quite quick. Likes the outside and only the outside. He's not going to be. Emerson doesn't mind coming in the field and playing passes and coming off the touchline. We ain't going to see that with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. It's not going to be as fanciful as perhaps what Emerson will be. Again, not necessarily a problem. We know what we're getting with Wan-Bissaka. I think all transfers have an element of risk. And I'll always say, when it comes to your scouts, when it comes to Tim Steidten, their job is to eliminate that risk as much as possible, to have as much knowledge of this player, to try and make it buy a player that you think is almost a guaranteed success. And sometimes it doesn't work out and sometimes it does. But I think some of them are just risk-free to some extent. And I think Wan-Bissaka is a player I would put in that category. I'll be shocked if he turns out to be a bad transfer. And I think he'll be a really good player for us next season. I don't think he'll be Hammer of the Year. But I think if he's here long enough, he could go on to become a bit of a cult hero, a very hard-working player. And we like a tough tackle, and this is even a Manscaped plug. We like a good tackle at West Ham. He's certainly going to serve up a few of those. This is a good player for West Ham. I am pleased we've got it done. I'm just glad that this transfer saga is over now. It's dragged on, and it just feels it's dragged on unnecessarily. It didn't need to be this drawn out negotiation, but he's in a few days before we take on Aston Villa as well, so there's plenty of time to integrate him into the squad. He's had pre-season under his belt with Man United in preparation for the Community Shield. I know he was injured, but he's had a pre-season, so he should be match sharp, he should be fit, he should be ready to go on Saturday. This is a good transfer. I've been impressed by our business. It continues to impress. It's the 12th of August. There's plenty of time with the transfer window. It's now a one out, one in policy at West Ham. I still think there's a couple to go, but I think this is what I would class as the last necessary transfer. Anyone else now is almost a bit of a treat, and any more upgrades we do, fantastic, cherry on the cake. I think what we've done now, I think Wan-Bissaka was the final piece of the jigsaw for the transfer window. Anything else is just a bonus. Well done, Tim Steidten, especially negotiating with Man United. And Aaron Wan-Bissaka, welcome to West Ham. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do. I feel quite confident about this one. Right, get your thoughts into the comments below. I want to know what you think regarding signing Aaron Wan-Bissaka for 15 million. Get your thoughts in. Subscribe if you're new to Hammer's Chat. Drop a like on the video as well if you've enjoyed it. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.